right, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday and happy April. We're at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. As I said last month, we have two very unique speakers this month. We have Greg Kettner, who's going to go first, and he's going to be talking about something very, very different. It's talking about WorkHappy. And this can absolutely be used on the farm, but it also can be used for us in our fields. I thought it was a very unique aspect and perspective that I wanted to share with you guys. And then our second speaker is going to be Jamie Styons, and he is going to talk about a Naloxone campaign that he is working with right now, which you guys know it's Naloxone is used in every working industry these days, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Is Miss Tara here? I thought she was going to share a little update this morning.
I am. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
there you go. All right. We're going to let Dr. Haskins go ahead and share a little bit.
Yeah, I won't take very long. Let me pull this up. I just kind of want to give everybody sort of some updates of some things that AgriSafe has in the works. So I'll just take a few minutes here of your time. First, I want to bring to your attention that we now have a premium membership offering, and you can go to our webpage. If you want to know a lot of the details, this is the different. Now, right now, we still, yes, we do have the basic membership, which is free. But if you want to know what the difference would be between the two, you can come here and take a look at what the difference is. We will have some premium webinars coming out this year that might be an additional cost if you had a basic membership, but with a premium membership, you would get to access those for free. And then we are also offering to any of our premium members, if you wanted to have AgriSafe come and do an in-person training, you can get a discount for that for your organization. So feel free to reach out to us if you want to ask for any more questions about that. Also, we're coming down to our April 8th deadline, and Jessica Salerno, she is our director for the Nurse Scholar program. She's on with us today. And this program is got some funded seats through Bayer, and these are for rural nurses. If you have a nurse in your organization or a nurse that you know, this program is amazing. It's about 23 hours of a wide range of agricultural health and safety topics. They get ANCC CEUs for that, so that's always a bonus for nurses. And we have scholarships available. So if they want to apply for that scholarship, that deadline is April the 8th. They can go straight here to this link and apply. And then those applications will be reviewed in the upcoming months. So don't miss out on this great opportunity. And if someone does miss on the opportunity, keep coming back to us, because according to Jessica, we may have some additional funding or perhaps some other opportunities for nurses that missed out on this wonderful Bayer opportunity. I also kind of wanted to share with everyone on our mental health trainings. We still have some seats in funded states. So if you have a healthcare professional or someone that you think could benefit from Farm Response, which is a mental health training, they can come to this webpage and they can fill out a form to see if they could take Farm Response for free. Texas is going to have some new seats coming very soon. So that's kind of breaking news. And we have other states that are interested. I'm working with Montana to try to get some funded seats through them, and we field requests. If you just want to take it on your own, you can come in and you can pay the $150. I don't know if I've shared this with this group, but this training was just approved by the Suicide Prevention Resource Center Best Practice Registry. So that was about an 8-month-long process we did in 2023. So if you go to that website, you will see Farm Response listed. It is the only agricultural-based mental health training that is listed there. So we're really proud of that achievement, and we think that this came after data of about 500 learners that had completed Farm Response. We also have a publication coming out very soon in the online journal for rural nursing about the evaluation and data analysis. And then one last thing, I just want to share with the audience, AgriSafe is also doing CALM trainings, conversations on access to lethal means. If your organization is interested in that, it does look at that topic through an agricultural lens. And we are also doing naloxone trainings, which we're really excited about. So glad to hear, to have today's topic on the innovative programming that is coming out of West Virginia. And I'll give it back to you, Carrie.
Yeah. Tara, are you going to stay on the meeting today?
Yep.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions for Tara that over anything that she just shared, just go ahead and private chat her, and then you guys can connect by email. But she'll be on to go ahead and take all your questions. So, Mr. Greg, I'm going to go ahead and let you start sharing, and you can go ahead and take over and start our presentation. I think you guys are going to like this. I just like the perspective that it gives everybody. We just always want to have a happy workplace, whether it's on the farm or in our environment that we're doing right now. So I'm going to let him go ahead and explain everything to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you all for joining. I am coming to you from Walla Walla, Washington, farming community in the southeast corner, wheat, onions, and wine. And we're getting known for our wine, if you're a wine aficionado. And our slogan is, go to Napa for your auto parts and Walla Walla for your wine. People in California aren't fans of that, but so that's where I live. And I'm really excited. And thank you again, Carrie, for letting me share how do we work happy and how do we talk about mental health in the workplace, at home, and on a tractor. So here we go. Words matter, right? We've all heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I believe that's 100% false. I remember being bullied in school, but I don't remember, getting sticks and stones thrown at me. So just that kind of in the background, that everything we do, everything we say, words do matter. And so I wanted to share with you kind of my journey over the last 4 or 5 years, because I didn't always work happy and I didn't talk about mental health or suicide. I didn't know how. So I want to give you guys a couple of tips on how to do that. And at the end, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them offline, and I can also send these slides to you, Carrie, if people want to get them in their hands. So 10 years ago, I was doing stand-up comedy. I was an amateur. I've been doing it about 6 months. We were at a pub in Vancouver, British Columbia, and there was about 7 people in the pub. There was 5 comedians, a bartender, and a waitress, and that was it. There was no cover, and there were like hardly anybody to watch us. I was third on the bill that night, and we had to do 5 minutes. And I was on the 7 o'clock show. There was also a 9 o'clock show. So the rookies were all on the 7 o'clock show. And we were trying to get better and better so we could be on the 9 o'clock show and then actually get paid. Halfway through my 5-minute set, the door opened up and in walked my hero, Robin Williams. And I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God, it's Robin Williams. I don't know what I'm going to do or say. So I finished my set and I wanted to make it memorable for me. And instead of going up to him and asking him for an autograph or a picture, I decided I was going to pretend I had no idea who he was. And that's what I did. I got off stage, I went and grabbed a beer and sat down beside him, and just started talking with him and said, hey, where are you from? And he's like, from San Francisco. And he kind of looked at me like, why does John Goodman have no idea who I am? But I kept it going, right? And I said, what are you doing here? He said, we're filming a movie, Night at the Museum. I said, well, that sounds really cool. Are you the camera guy? Do you hold the microphone? Are you in catering? And so the conversation went on for a while, and finally I said, you know what? I absolutely know who you are. I'm a big fan of yours. I said, well, thanks for making me laugh. He said 2 things to me that I'll never forget. He said, number one, he said, keep doing what you're doing because you're funny, which is a pretty awesome compliment from Robin Williams. And the other thing he told me, he said, always make people laugh because you'll never know the difference that you will make in someone's life. And I've always carried that through the last 10 years in the back of my mind. I always try to make people happy and look on the positive side, whether it's somebody cuts you off in traffic or there's somebody really, really slow and counting change at the grocery store. We never know what people are doing. And one of my favorite quotes by Robin is she says, everyone is battling something we have no idea about. Always be kind. So 5 years ago, I had no idea how to talk about mental health or suicide, but now I do. So our family took lemons and made lemonade. This is my family. It's Brian Regan. If you watch any stand-up comedy, you know who he is. If you haven't watched Brian Regan, please do. He's very PG. Your grandma can watch him or your kids can watch him. But on the right-hand side of the picture is my wife, Becky, my stepdaughter, Rachel. And Rachel was a big fan of Brian Regan. And Becky and I had been married for about a year. And so I was trying to still build up brownie points with Rachel. So I got us tickets to go see Brian Regan here in town. And I worked at the arena where he was playing. And so through my connections doing stand-up comedy over the last 10 years, I got to do a meet and greet with him. And so we walked down into the bowels of the arena. And I said, hey, Rachel, there's my office door. She knocked on the door. Brian Regan opens up the door and says, Rachel, thank you so much for coming to see my show. And I have never seen Rachel not be able to talk. She was just like, oh my word, I cannot believe it. So we got 10 minutes before the show to talk with Brian Regan. We said our goodbyes because the show was starting and we went up to get our tickets. And Brian Regan was so cool. He changed our tickets. We were up in the nosebleeds and he gave us 3 tickets in the very front row center stage. So for 2 hours, our whole family saw the show. It was amazing. We drove home and we were talking about the jokes and laughing and having a good time. 48 hours later, my wife woke me up at 2:18 in the morning, March 18. And she let me know that Rachel's dad had passed by suicide. And I didn't know what to do or say. But through counseling and talking and laughter, it's gotten better. And Rachel's been very resilient. It's been 6 years. And we've all been more resilient. And now I dedicated what I do to help people talk about mental health. Because people don't talk about it enough, especially guys. And one of the highest rates of suicide is blue-collar workers, 25 to 45. So before this incident, I really didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know if I could catch mental illness. I didn't know all these kinds of things. And so that is our journey. And so now I go and talk to people around North America. How do we talk about mental health? How do we use humor? And one way we can use humor, I remember it was probably about a month after the incident. We were sitting around the dinner table and Rachel started to cry. And then Becky started to cry and I started to cry. And so I said, all right, time out. We're going to go watch some comedy. So we stopped eating dinner, went on the couch, and within 10 minutes, all 3 of us were laughing again. It didn't take away the pain, but for that time, it took our minds off of it. And so the next slide, I hit the button, but I always add this because sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't, but it's but you know, the daughter saying, Mom, did you want a daughter or a son? And the mom's like, you know, all I wanted was a back rub, right? So when stuff gets a little bit hard at work, maybe you're on the farm or in our office or whatever you do, when we laugh, it releases dopamine, and that's the happy, feel-good neurotransmitters that allows us to relax and takes away our stress and all those kinds of good things. So there's a lot of shame and guilt around mental health. I like to call it mental fitness. I still mess up as well too, but I was reading a study by Lyra Health and saying they were saying that 8 out of 10 people still will not go and talk to their managers or to HR about their issues that they're going through, their struggles, whether it's anxiety or overwhelm. So this is just a good reminder here what mental health is. It's important. It's not a sign of weakness, right? Everybody has some issues that they're going through. It isn't shameful. And we can go down this list, and I've dedicated my life. We actually have a men's group here in Walla Walla called Men in the Middle, just to get together and have these conversations, right? Because when we have a conversation with somebody, that person go, oh, well, I struggle with stress as well too, or I'm struggling in my marriage, I'm struggling in my finance, my kids are struggling. We're all going through the same thing, but when we talk to each other and we show empathy, it allows us to talk together, and it allows us to reach out and feel okay to talk about it, whether it's with a partner or a friend or a therapist. And before Rachel's dad passing, I really didn't know what mental health was, right? The scope of it. But here's a list of different types of mental health issues, right? Whether it's hoarding or overwhelm or paranoia or anger, anxiety, all these things. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't reach out and get help, if we don't go to our HR managers or whoever we can talk to, AgriStress Network is a great place as well too, right? A lot of resources where if you're struggling at even a lower scale, if we reach out and get help, that's where the magic happens, and that's where we can work happy as well too. I do a lot of keynotes. I was out in on the East Coast in Nova Scotia, Halifax, and this story is just kind of about the power of talking and having a conversation. I was going out the day before for my own mental health. I was going out to get exercise to the Bay of Fundy, and this is where there's the biggest tide change in the world. It's about 12 feet. So I wanted to go see where it was, and it's about a 20-minute walk. And as I was starting out the walk, I saw this guy, Steven, and I always use humor. I love making people laugh. I saw his hat, a San Francisco 49ers fan, which I am too. And so I said to him, I said, hey, I'm a 49ers fan. My two favorite teams are the San Francisco 49ers and anybody playing the Dallas Cowboys, because I hate the Cowboys, right? And so he laughed and I laughed, and we started to have a conversation. And the first thing that I noticed about Steven, other than his amazing beard, was that he had a very serious stuttering problem. And he was looking down, he wasn't looking in my eyes, he was stuttering. And I just, okay, well, I'll keep talking. So I said, hey, I'm going for this walk if you want to join me. And we did. And I said, where are you from and what are you doing? And he just emptied out on me like he hadn't talked to anybody in years, and found out that he hadn't been out of his house in the past 3 months. And so I asked him, I said, that seems kind of a long time to be holed up. I mean, this was after COVID. And he said, well, I lost my job 3 months ago, so I moved back in with my mom, and a couple of weeks after that, she passed away unexpectedly. And so I've just kind of been depressed and sad and didn't know what to do. And the only outlet that I have is when my buddy comes over and watches hockey games with me. And I said, well, have you thought about talking to your doctor or therapist? And he was like a lot of guys my age and younger and older. And he was like, no, you know what? I was taught to suck it up. Don't talk about it. Guys don't cry, that kind of thing. And so I shared my story with him. And I said, you know what, Steven? I was exactly with you 5 years ago. But now I've learned, I go to therapy. I started out by talking to my doctor. He's just a therapist. And I said, I go monthly, whether I need to or not. It's a nice way to get feedback from someone who's an expert. And so we kept on walking and talking, and the walk was done. And as we were parting ways, I said, you know what? Thank you for the conversation. He said, thank you. He goes, I've never once thought about telling people about my life. And I'm going to go talk to my doctor and see if I can get into therapy. And I was just like, that is so cool. And then I sat in my car and I was just emotional and I started to cry. And then I was thinking back, and the one thing that really stood out when we were parting ways is that he was no longer stuttering, because we had a conversation He felt okay to share his feelings with another guy, and that stuttering problem went away. So it's a power of talking to each other, the power of words, whether we're at work or at home. We can absolutely share and help other people out. Oops. I have had been really blessed. I've had a great career. I started out with Nike, and I got into sports, and I sold hockey tickets for a number of years, and now I get to do what I get to do is help people work happy. One Thursday afternoon, this was probably about 6 months ago, on Facebook, I posted just 4 words: "You matter to me," on a purple background, and I didn't think anything of it. Practically forgot about it till about 2 or 3 days later. I got this very long Facebook message from a friend 25 years before. We'd worked together for this hockey team. And she said, "Thank you so much for the post that you put, you matter to me." And I was like, okay. So I kept on reading. And she said, "I've been struggling with my marriage. My daughter has some learning disabilities in school, so we're working through that. And for the last couple of years, I've been battling depression." And she kept on in the message saying, "It's gotten so bad that I had a plan to end my life. I was going to go running like I always do, and I was just going to run off a cliff, and that would be it, and the world would be a better place." So now I'm crying, reading this long message, and she said, "I saw your post that morning and thought, I matter to Greg." And she said, "I didn't go running that day." And I wrote her back and said, "Thank you so much for letting me know. Thank you so much for not going through with your plan. How can I help?" And she said, I can't get into therapy. I can't find a therapist." Well, one of my best friends here in Walla Walla, his wife was a therapist over in Seattle about 5 years ago. So I called her and said, "Hey, I have this friend who's really struggling, and she needs to get counseling ASAP." And within a week, she was able to get the counseling that she needed to help her out. So again, the power of words, having a conversation. We used to work together, working happy, all those kinds of good things just blend together. But if we take the opportunity to say, "How are you doing?" And a lot of times I'll ask people that and they'll say, "Oh, I'm good." Ask that question again. How are you really doing? I've got 5 minutes, and the magic can happen from there. So here's another bit of humor. This was just down the street from us. Speed limit's 25, but somebody got a 58. So I guess I don't know, is that an A plus? I'm not sure. So finally, as I wrap up, mental health crisis line is 988. So if you're struggling, and it might not be major, it could be something, with your kids or your marriage or on the farm. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know what you guys go through. But if you start to struggle, you can call the mental health crisis line 988, and there's a professional to help you, to talk to you and to get you the help and resources that you need. Or you can text home to 741, and this is throughout North America, 24/7. But also to reach out. I always say, reach out, reach out, reach out. Talk to your partner, talk to your doctor, or talk to a counselor, because we all deserve the best lives that we have. And if we reach out, then we're able to do that. So again, reach out. Reach out when you're struggling. Reach out when you think someone that you love and care about might be struggling. But reach out, because there are so many resources. And I know your network has so many resources. You have classes and training, that they were just talking about. But reach out when we need to. And finally, that's it. Again, if you want to get a hold of me, you can just take a picture of this QR code. The code word is happy. And I'd be happy to stay on after this if you have any questions, or reach out to me. All my contact information is there. But again, Carrie, thank you for the opportunity. Thank everybody for being on here. And if there's anything that I can do to connect you with or listen, I'm not a licensed counselor or a doctor. I'm a can opener, and I can get people to talk and say, "Hey, it's okay. If Skinny John Goodman can go to counseling, everybody can. So thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody, if you feel like asking any questions, feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask Greg. Greg, I have a question. I know that you said you give keynotes. Do you actually go into the workplace and like, I don't know, maybe like have a conversation, a workshop, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do trainings as well too. So it's called the WorkHappy framework. So there's 9 different steps, whether it's communication, mindset, purpose, how to use humor appropriately in the workplace, right? It's 2024. So I do that as well too. So I speak, I coach, and I do trainings in the workplace as well.
Awesome. Well, there's once we're done, I have you go into the chat and take a look at some of the comments for you. I will like that.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Greg before we move over to Jamie? There's a lot of things that he can that he told us that we can take into our own work environment and just be a little bit more conscious of, but also maybe Greg, do you have a link that kind of explains your workshops?
Yeah, I do. And I also within that QR code, there's a link. It's just my website, gregkettner.com/workhappy. I do a monthly WorkHappy masterclass. It's only 30 minutes, but it kind of gives people 3 key things on each of the different categories to take away. So
Okay.
it's a Thursday at 11 Pacific, but people can go to that link and register for that as well too, and that's absolutely free.
Okay. Would you care to put that link in our chat so that people, if they want to look, they can go right there? And then we'll obviously add it in our email after we're finished with this. But I know some people like to click on it right then, kind of like me. So
yeah.
All right. We appreciate you sharing that unique perspective with us and just kind of reminding us that we all work in this environment. Sometimes we're so used to taking care of everybody else that we don't think about our own environment, just to kind of keep a conscious mind on that.
Great. Thanks again, Carrie.
All right. Okay. So we're going to try to get Jamie on. I see him up there. Jamie is he is being a warrior this morning. He is in a severe thunderstorm. He has no power right now, but he is connecting to hotspot to try to do his presentation for us. So if he gets kicked off, we'll wait for him to try to get back on. But Jamie, I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and take over. And I'm just going to let you get started just in case anything happens.
Good morning, folks. We're still recouping from a thunderstorm, so a lot of our stuff is out. I have the unfortunate ability of not being in my office, so I actually end up traveling upstate West Virginia a little bit. So our area that I'm in right now has UPS power for basic stuff, but no internet. So I'm using a hotspot laptop, and we'll see what goes from here. Thank you all for letting me pop in and talk to you all a little bit. A lot of the areas that I wanted to touch base with was the power and innovation of naloxone distribution. Now, I don't know how many folks utilize naloxone where they work, where they live, or even the phrase of where you play at. But it is one of those substances nowadays that is crucial, not just for those who's struggling with substance use disorder, but also families and anybody that comes in contact with that insidious thing, fentanyl, carfentanil, xylazine, whatever you get in touch with, you have to make sure you're protected. There should be in everyone's first aid kit. It should be in everybody's reach. And we've had it for years upon years, but not until the past 5 years, I was more in tune with it. And coming from a background in behavioral medicine, that is very shocking. But being in West Virginia, that opioid epidemic has really hit hard in our state, not to mention a lot of our bordering states and other areas. But needless to say, our area today is talking about the innovative techniques that we've tried to use. And what we've done is put a spin on it using our local cryptids. Well, people have Bigfoot. Every state has Bigfoot. Every area has Bigfoot. Well, we got Mothman as well. And a lot of those areas probably aren't the most wonderful stories behind a lot of these creatures, but we're putting a different spin on them because these folks are going to be proactive for us. What we've done, we've partnered with one of our local health centers and coalitions up in our northern eastern panhandle, Potomac Highlands Guild. We've also partnered with our Office of Drug Control Policy. And there's kind of a two-part kick to this. The first part we had was the innovative technique of sticker shock. Now, some folks may use sticker shock if it goes to alcohol campaigns, things like that, just to notify folks, hey, you're under 21, make sure this is not something you purchase. Well, our sticker shock was through our National Save a Life Day we had through the Appalachian region, which focused Mothman carrying naloxone. And it had our web address, strongcommunities.org, which would link individuals back to get more resources. When I went to Massachusetts about a year ago, I was actually thrilled that I saw that sticker on somebody's laptop from up there. I did not realize how far it got up. So we incorporate a lot of the other creatures we've had within our state, our myths, our legends, our wonderful lore. And we are doing a larger campaign with all of our naloxone boxes by having stickers on them. The stickers are a QR code, and it goes back to a 5-question survey. We're Detroit Red Wings. Sorry, some things pop up and nobody hate me. I like the Flyers. So, but no, going back to what it was, we are using from our regions all those lures. We're putting them on our boxes, and it gets people one to pick it up. They read it and they scan it. With that, you have a 5-question survey. Just by piloting alone, we've been able to pull a ton of different data in. Anybody who's ever done any kind of handouts or try to get people to do a survey, it's almost impossible. Nobody wants to take it. It's not fun, and they're not going to answer it. Well, we try to make it more innovative. This passive survey has pulled more data in than some of the required CDC surveys that we've got, which has been phenomenal. We've only started this a month. So we're went a little farther with this. In addition to doing this survey with the box, we're building this into our emergency service system. So now our law enforcement, they're going to start publicizing this as well. They hand them out. We're collecting more data from our first responders where we can get more information from those hard-hit areas from that immediate response. We're able to plug that data directly back into our crisis response models, our quick response team models, in addition to our EMS models. So they can hotspot map what's going on in their locality, and they can have something within a matter of hours versus a matter of weeks. So they can redistribute EMS personnel, police personnel, fire personnel, and know what kind of public health response we really need to pop out. Now, that's one tier of our intervention. The other intervention are things such as, and I don't know if anybody has used this or not, is called a one box. The one box is a model. It's a self-trainer. Imagine having a first aid kit on the wall. You open it up and it starts talking to you with a video, training you on how to use naloxone. This is something that they introduced at the grant with the West Virginia Division of Intervention Institute, and it's been quite successful throughout our entire state. We started a lot with our campuses for universities and tech campuses to have these for students. They are weatherproof, they're rechargeable, and they've been successful in that sense. Since then, we have put them in almost all of our municipal buildings, our courthouses, along with AEDs, because you need to have all the safety protections if you're going to help somebody, to include a defibrillator. A lot of this area, people don't understand that just because they're not specifically using a substance, they're not at risk. A lot of our contaminants come from just quick exposure, whether it's breathing in something, bleeding close contact. You go into a restroom and you use the changing table to change your baby on. A lot of areas can get you exposed to it. One thing, especially with this group, is agriculture. So you have folks working, you have food that could be compromised. You don't know if things are being locally produced or if things are coming in. we don't know what's going on. So it's better to be safe and have all the protective measures in place to make sure everybody is well protected. However, sometimes you have to get folks' attention on a different method. So doing innovative techniques, doing things like using a sticker shock, using your local lore, not only gets people pulled in, but they also learn about the culture of the area, the history of the area. One big thing that when I used to leave West Virginia, going to DC or going to Massachusetts, New York, Chicago, people's perception of where I came from was a lot different than how our perception is. West Virginia is a lot like other rural areas, and I'm sure you guys see this as well. Folks here are not ignorant. Saw questions. I would love to share some images. I'm limited to what I can share right now. I apologize. I can definitely send some follow-up ones though. And it's good to see you. Sorry I missed you on there first. But the perception from West Virginia is not as pleasurable as what we like to be. And honestly, I come from the Eastern Shore of Maryland, a very agriculture area, beautiful area, but West Virginia is home, and it's home to some of the most innovative, intelligent, hardworking folks that I've ever seen. And a lot of our rural areas are the exact same way. So it's publicizing things, regardless if we're in a rough spot, if we have a rough situation to go through, is making things optimistic, giving people hope. And one of our large campaigns we use through our website, and you can easily follow and find a lot of these resources, is helpandhopewv.org. And you have links to all of our resources to that, our media campaigns, our primary prevention resources. You can get a hold of our school resource officers, and of course, the Naloxone campaigns that we do with the links going on with it as well. And if anybody on here would love to have any of these innovative stickers or information, I'll be more than happy to email it and even send out hard copies when we get more produced to folks. I know it's short, but I had a PowerPoint I wanted to use. I just did not have the ability to pop it up right now, so it kind of limited me what I can do.
Yeah, that's okay. Laura put in the chat box. She put your web address so that people could go look at that. I knew with your hotspot, it usually you can't hardly share anything. It just takes up too much data. But if you guys go in the chat here, there's a link that helpandhopewv.org, and then it goes straight to their Naloxone campaign. And then, Jamie, if there's anything that you want me to send in the email that we send out after this, just email that to me, or you can put it in the chat here as well. Like if there's anything really specific that you didn't get to share that, you think would be essential to anybody.
There's a handful of things I would like to share, but every time I clicked on to try to do it, I got disconnected.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah.
We use the cloud-based a lot for our stuff because where we have so many staff, we want to have a good collaborative network. Well, that's not so collaborative right now, but
Right.
But yes, definitely want to send things out. And again, I'm more than happy to actually send out mailers as well with folks and give some samples. We're hoping this time doing Save a Life Day with the organizers, we're doing east of the Mississippi. So we're slowly trying to go over the entire nation. We're very, very fortunate to have some awesome partners, not just in West Virginia, but all around us, especially all rural folks. Big heart for rural folks. I love folks that live in the city. I'm a rural person. I love living in it. I have a little twang in my voice. And anytime I hear a twang, it makes me feel good. If I break down in my car, I want to be in a rural area in backwoods mountain. That's how I feel good about it. So
you feel at home. You feel at home.
That's right. Cornfields and beaches and mountains. I'm good.
Miss Tara had a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to share the observation that when I met Jamie at the health policy at the NRHA Policy Institute, I was struck by the fact that the images were so reminiscent of Scooby-Doo images. And so I grew up on Scooby-Doo. And so having that appearance really kind of, in a weird way, sort of subconsciously connected with me. Jamie, we have a large Bigfoot population in East Texas, North Louisiana. In fact, there's a conference that happens every year, a Bigfoot conference with a lot of films that were filmed in the area. So and I didn't know about the Flatwoods Monster. So thanks so much for sharing this way to get a message out about this serious topic. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's just one method. Everyone has their own methods. This has just been one that has taken off, and it has taken off very indirectly. We didn't expect it. We wanted something that was more localized. We wanted something that we could quickly get out for an event. And when we start getting calls, hey, we need this, hey, we need this, hey, do you have this? This is great. Well, you know what? Let's make it more marketable, but it's an open market. So any of the graphics you see, feel free to use it. They're not copyrighted. That's at all. We do not want to do any of that copyrighted. We want it to be shared. We want it to be used, because if you restrict it, it doesn't help people. And our job is to help. And if you have ideas, please shoot them by. We'll love to go through different states and do different things. I live in Virginia right now, and the southwest part is very rural as well. We have our own little cryptids, but I tell you, Bigfoot gets around. But
Everybody knows Bigfoot.
doing this message, I never heard of Veggie Man. Apparently, Veggie Man is around as well. Sheep Squatch song, I did not know about that. It's I don't know. It's just a history lesson in the same way of helping folks. And, my thing is, if you can win one person, that's great.
Jamie, Linda wanted to know if you could please share more information regarding the first responders assistance in gathering data on the site overdoses.
Absolutely. Thank you for keeping me in touch. The first responders, they are a pivotal component when we made our quick response teams. Now, they have a system called OD Maps that they would input a lot of their stuff through, which was part of the HIDA network. However, not all of our rural law enforcement would do that. Partnering with them, we've been able to help connect it as a team approach with a social worker, a peer recovery support specialist, EMS, and law enforcement. By doing this, not only does the law enforcement, when they go to the first point of contact, and if they suspect an overdose, and quick backstory before I can continue on, in West Virginia, anybody who calls in regarding an overdose automatically triggers a law enforcement response. So that may or may not happen because they know that. However, going back to it, we have trained our officers, a majority of our officers, in trauma-informed care, crisis intervention techniques, and also overdose intervention techniques. By having that, they've incorporated motivational interviewing and cultural competency. Instead of arresting the individual, this person is diverted. Somebody's in jail, they cannot get the assistance. So what they will do, they will call our mobile crisis line. It's a dedicated line, local folks. You're not calling 5 miles away up the road. You're calling somebody right there within a local vicinity that can be there within minutes. And that individual will come there, they'll assess, and they'll be able to link them directly with the treatment, whether it has to go to the ER for clearance or go directly to provide an option for inpatient. Or if the person was a bystander and they need some more assistance, whether a parent. A lot of times parents, family members, friends, they are a secondary area. You would have law enforcement step over the person, just like a child, get to the other person. Not anymore. Using our handle with care models that also incorporates and giving assistance to children. So the data collection from law enforcement is as simple as a checkbox. When you went on scene, was this person observed to be intoxicated? If so, what was going on? Did you contact somebody to come intervene? By using that method, over the years, we have been very successful in pulling in over 50% of any calls related to any kind of substance use. Those 50% of individuals, obviously not everybody's going to treatment, but now more than 50% of those individuals specifically, which makes it over a fourth of everybody that get calls in from an ER or from an emergency call, has been linked with treatment directly. What types of questions asked with QR code? I actually have to look on directly to find out. The questions are very simple questions. We don't want folks to give too much information, because if we give out too much information, they're not going to answer it. What vicinity are you located at? Which age range? What type of substances have you encountered? Was this a personal or family or friend? Things like that. But it's enough to pull the general data that we can get a good response. So we don't want the exact address for the person. That's too personal. They'll feel very enclosed in, they won't provide it. But what vicinity do we need to focus on? What kind of age range is it affecting? What substance? And we'll have they'll have a drop down. What substance is, the one that's being affected right now? And, were you the person or was it a bystander? So very, very basic. If you do more than 5, people aren't going to answer them. I've had surveys that are 20 and 30. No, after 5 to 10, they're done and they won't answer anymore. So these are very simple, basic, and they have options for follow-up. They can call us directly. We can connect with them. We can talk to them if they want more information or want to connect. And we've got a lot of our community champions like this. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. A lot of times, because we have blanketed the area with naloxone so much, we call this the wet blanket method. Been great. You get in the community, folks are trained, and it's being used. There's only one catch about it. Is it being reported if they use it? A lot of times, no. This right here helps offer a quick way to report, has it been used? Because if they have it on themselves, they do a reversal, they're not going to call in for help. The bad thing about that is this person can overdose a second time on the same initial overdose. It happens. It's very dangerous. This is a respiratory issue. We always tell them, if you overdose, if you have to use this, call for help. Get follow-up care. This can happen within minutes. It can happen within hours. You don't know if this happens again. We want to be prepared. This gives you time to get an ambulance. Don't try to take the person yourself, but call for help. And also, under our Good Samaritan law, if you give somebody naloxone, you're covered if you call for help. If you don't, you're not covered. So, of course, that's something that we also disclose to everybody as well. But we have a lot of self-reversals. Most of our reversals are self-reversals nowadays. We just want that data to be collected. To be stingy, I guess, if we don't have the data, we can't apply for more grants to get more services out. We can't show the effectiveness of how it's been used. And I'm long-winded. You have to overlook me.
You're fine. You're fine. Jamie, I don't work in the medical field anymore, but I almost feel like I have an obligation. When something happens, like I have the training that I need to stop and help that person. So I have like the emergency kit in the back of my car. I've got the mask where I can do the CPR. How do you feel about, do you encourage just the lay person to carry naloxone since it is such an epidemic right now?
Absolutely. But, I say the 3 things: check, call, care. Check the person. If they're unconscious, obviously that's implied assistance. If they're there and they say, I don't want assistance, you can't do anything, call for help. Because when you're working on somebody, we are trying to provide assistance, you have somebody coming there that also covers you as a Good Samaritan. If you're licensed, you have your own reporting abilities that you have to abide by. And then, of course, providing that care, making sure you do what you can. You're taking upon yourself to provide within your scope what you're able to provide. Definitely don't go outside of your scope. Do not give medications. Naloxone, it's not harmful for the most part. There's been some instances where in extreme situations, it can be detrimental if given too much or given to certain age ranges. But overall, the studies that we've had, it hasn't been detrimental. And it also far exceeds the expiration date. However, make sure you're within your scope of practice. If it's not something you're supposed to be doing, do not do it.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Jamie on the naloxone? And then we'll go ahead and get his websites in there, and then anything else that you want me to send out to the group, Jamie, just email that to me afterwards and we'll make sure that gets out to everybody.
Yeah. And I'm far from the expert. I just work with all the smart people.
Your knowledge, that's for sure. Unfortunately, this has it has become a problem in every industry, and it's very disheartening to know that we as just normal people need to carry that, in our back pocket, because it's happening all the time. I live in a little bitty town and you hear about it all the time happening. It's just mind blowing.
And
Well-
I have sorry, that brings up a question because naloxone, like, let's say one problem is like your family member is on pain medication for like back surgery or something, and they forget that they took a dose and they take another dose. They could could naloxone help with that? Like, even if it's just like,
Yes and no. You have to make sure that it's an opioid because it blocks
yes.
receptors for the opioid only. But if it's a medication that's an opioid, the pharmacy is supposed to automatically provide an antagonist to go with it.
That is good to know.
Really?
Yeah, that's at least that's how it is within our area. However, it's supposed to be free for insurances or low cost to insurance. We tell individuals, look, don't pay for it. We have it available for you right here, and we can give you more information regarding it as well. But yes, pharmacies, if they give you a pain medication, that's an opioid. They're supposed to provide an antagonist to go with it, just in case for accidental overdose.
Jamie, Carol wants to know, do the instructional materials forewarn folks that when administered Narcan, some may become combative as the reversal agent does its work?
Some may. Naloxone itself has a lot of different varieties. Narcan, that specific one brand, and Floxata, they have certain disclaimers on some of the packaging. The packaging just recently changed. When we first introduced it out, it didn't have any kind of certain instructions outside of very basic use. However, that is a very good point because depends on what's in the system, and a lot of things that we coin right now are considered a polysubstance. One thing we see, especially in our area with fentanyl, is methamphetamine. So when you block that opioid, you have this full person in psychosis now. What do you do? The person's going to swing. There's been instances where the person had a weapon on, they got shot or they got stabbed. So we always specify when we're training, one nostril all the way in, don't do it halfway through because you have to make sure that it atomizes in. Back up and give the response. Nothing else, you can try a second dose, alternate in the nostril. By that time, you've also called somebody and you perform the initial life-saving check as a sternum rub because that's a very painful rub to check for alertness. So a lot of it goes right back to understanding basic first aid.
Okay.
But yes, a lot of our materials, they need to be updated. Even statewide, our train the trainers or whatnot, we need to update it because we've had so many new devices that's come out and some things that's been expired that's no longer on the market that we need to alternate back and forth around. Overall, same methodology. It's going to be intranasal. We have some that electronic auto injectors, which honestly are some of the preferred for a lot of folks.
The injectors over the nasal spray?
Yes,
Okay.
they can guarantee it gets in. Sometimes people panic. They won't press it all the way in or they'll mess up and it'll go everywhere, but it won't get in. The auto
Okay.
injector, it makes in and it gives verbal prompts.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions for Jamie?
And feel free to email me questions too. Worst
Yeah,
case,
we will
always
send
link
out
with
your
other
email.
folks.
Yeah, we appreciate both you guys giving some detrimental information today. It sounds weird to say I enjoyed it, but I like increasing my knowledge and understanding better and just hearing those things. So we are going to wrap up. Laura's going to give us a quick update on the AgriStress helpline. So I'm going to let her go ahead and unmute and give a little share there.
Thanks, Carrie. So I'm sure most of y'all have heard of the AgriStress helpline. I just wanted to give an update since the end of 2023. We now have it in 10 states. If you don't know what the AgriStress helpline is, it's a crisis line and resource line for people working in ag, forestry, fishing, logging. 24/7. It's answered by the same people who answer 988, but they've also had our farm response training, so they know those specific stressors of people working in these industries. And they also have a comprehensive list of resources related to those industries in each state. So let's say it's like financial stressors, or they need help finding people to work on the farm. They have resources to give that can help as well. And so we have it now in 10 states, like I said. So Colorado, Connecticut, Missouri, Montana, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Texas, Virginia, Washington, and Wyoming. If anyone calls the number, it can be translated into up to 160 languages, and the text version can be translated into, well, they can answer back in Spanish and Vietnamese in addition to English. So I just wanted to share that. Y'all are welcome to share it as well. It's 24/7. It's on our website. If you want the marketing materials, we can send you print materials. There's a resource request form on our website. Yeah. Thanks for listening. I just wanted to share that update with y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Andy, if you want to get with Tara on how to get this in your state, go ahead and direct message her. Same for you, Naomi. We would love to get it in all 50 states and make it nationwide. Yes. All right, guys, we will get the email out in about 24 hours. We'll have the YouTube link to today's meeting. We would love it if you would share it with your colleagues, anyone else that you think would be interested in hearing or sharing on our meeting each month. And then the contact information for both of our speakers will be on there too, so that you can network, collaborate, and just get more information from them. Greg and Jamie, thank you so much for coming on today and just like sharing your knowledge with us. And I can tell both of you are very passionate about what you do. So we thank you for that. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next month.